Guys, in business, you won't always take wins. Just like in life, you won't always take wins. You will inevitably take some losses. And in this business vlog, I need to share with you guys the story of a big, major loss, a big L that I recently took with the Den of Nerds. This all has to do with what happened with Dion, what happened with the team. And yeah, I know many of you have been waiting for me to talk about this. And here we go. Now, before we get into all the gritty details, obviously I can't go make you guys all sign NDAs, and by making this video, I am putting certain things out there into the public, so to speak, and I'm acknowledging that, I understand that, and because you guys at this Patreon level are getting the business vlogs, I feel like it's completely appropriate for you to be privy to these sort of realities, to these truths. And so I would just ask that you, A, do not share this with many other people, and B, do not go harass Dion or any of these guys. I don't think that's the appropriate way. We're Jedi here. That's not the Jedi way.
Remember, revenge is not the Jedi way.
Revenge is not the Jedi way.
Okay, so before I can explain what happened, I need to kind of talk about the context of this team. Why did I even build this team? Because as you guys have probably known, like I've got, Justin is a big partner here. James Rosile does a lot to help out with the channel. I've had other rotating content creators come in and out over the 2 years, but this was the first time that I sort of made a big kind of push towards branding a group of people along with myself as the Den of Nerds, okay? Now, this was actually not my idea, believe it or not. This was Rob McPhee's idea. Rob, the owner of the Uncanny Comic Shop. Rob, good friend of mine. I used to do the show there in the comic book shop. And so Rob's idea was to bring together a bunch of people that he knew, including himself, to formulate a team that would go under the banner of the Den of Nerds, the brand that I had created, which, by the way, was not initially that we didn't like say as we came together, oh yeah, let's do this thing under the Den of Nerds. It was more like, hey, Rob kind of brought together a group of people, all that had skills and fan bases. Quiva, big on Instagram. Jim has his own podcast. Dion has a magazine. I have, of course, the Den of Nerds. And we decided we were going to combine our powers and go after this contract with ReedPop, the company that does the Comic-Cons. So we did that, and the decision was kind of unanimously made that we would go under the branding of the Den of Nerds. It seemed to fall most in a line with the contract we were going after, and it had a big following, bigger than anybody else's following, and so we decided to do that. And I went along with it. I was like, okay, this sounds good. This sounds good. Now, I want to say that kind of right away, Dion and I butted heads. And there's some stuff that happened that I cannot talk to you guys about because of possible legal things that might be happening. But I can tell you a couple of different things right off the bat. Number one, Dion and I did not see eye to eye on the type of content that we want to do here with the Den of Nerds, the branding behind the Den of Nerds. Guys, I fight against the YouTube algorithm on a daily basis. I talked about it a little bit in my new Star Wars video. Regardless of all of that, Dion and I butted heads. We did that Super Late Show, which was kind of his idea, and we're spending like all these resources and renting out this space and doing all this promotion, and to me the show just didn't feel like it would work on YouTube. That's why you guys never saw it. I never put it up on the YouTube channel. I was like, this isn't going to work. It's not up to par with my standards, blah blah blah. So we butted heads on that. Plus another example, early on, Vance Wallace, who was a longtime subscriber of the channel, commented on one of the first videos that I did with the new crew saying, don't do this with these new people. They don't know what they're talking about. He was very negative towards the whole thing and at the same time positive towards me and the channel. And I chose to kind of approach Vance doing that in a very good public relations sense. You're not going to just go tell this guy he's completely wrong. This is the new us. Get over it. That's what Dion wanted me to do, and I didn't want to do that. I basically said to Vance something along the lines of, hey, they're not bad. They're just new to this. They're going to get better. The future of this channel is a network. You're going to see many new faces. I hope you give them a chance. That set Dion off. That was apparently ridiculously not okay when it came to him, and we had a huge blow-up fight about that. We had several other blow-up fights. I think one of the biggest ones was one of the solo videos that he did. I put it up on the channel, and it was doing okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. And then he asked me if I was ever going to put it up. I told him it was up. A day later, it blew up in views. Now, these views were fake views, and I look at analytics every single day. This is what I do. I'm a YouTuber. I'm obsessed with analytics and the algorithm. I looked at the views. just to give you an example, I think at the time it had 7,000 views with only 1,000 unique viewers. Only 1,000 unique viewers. YouTube can figure that out. So that means that some of these viewers were like bots that were watching it over and over and over again. And that's a huge problem. That's breaks the terms of service. It's potentially channel life threatening. I freaked out. Dion denied everything. We had a huge blow up fight about that. And so these things kept happening. We kept having friction between us. We could not see eye to eye. I remember at a couple of different fights, Quiva and Rob would say stuff like, oh, this is just what happens when you have two alphas, two strong personalities. Dion and I even talked about it and said, like, look, maybe this is just the reality of our working relationship, but we cannot do this in front of the rest of the team. But honestly, it's not good vibes. I don't want to be around someone that I constantly have to fight with, that someone that doesn't share in the vision, and that someone that is honestly antagonistic. You know what I mean? I would best describe Dion's personality as antagonistic and brittle. You know what I mean? One of those people that can dish it but cannot take it. Those kind of people. So let's fast forward to the Comic-Con itself. Comic-Con was great. In my opinion, Comic-Con was awesome. I felt like we worked as a really good unit. Everybody pulled their weight. We did great content. It was a good experience, but the entire time, I was still butting heads with Dion. It was very frustrating. He did very little actual work for the con itself, and I just personally had a big problem with that. Then there was a couple other things that happened that, like I said, I can't talk about. Big blow-up fights. Essentially, after the Comic-Con, I made the decision that I could not work with Dion anymore. And this is where it gets really weird. So the first person I called about this was Rob. I explained the situation. Rob told me he understood. He said, yeah, you guys have been butting heads a lot. Everybody knows it. And I specifically asked Rob, I said, Rob, if I do this, it's potentially going to be bad. You know, some other members of the team might leave. I was like, can I count on you, Rob? Will you stay? Will you be a member of the Den of Nerds? He told me yes. He said, I ride for the brand. I'm with you. And if Dion asks me this is what I'll say to him. Yada, yada, yada. I was like, okay. Rob also then told me to reach out to the rest of the team first. I was just going to reach out to Dion first. I felt like that was the best thing to do. Just kind of say, hey, man, this isn't working for me. Cannot do business with you any longer. Rob suggested that I talk to the rest of the team. I talked to the rest of the team. They understood. They said they didn't want to make a decision right away. You know what I mean? Completely understood. I was like, yo, take your time. This is what's going down. So then I made the call with Dion. I told him I was going to sever business relationships with him, and he took it very poorly, to say the least. He then went around to the rest of the team and told them stuff that Dion and I had talked about in confidence as business partners. At the time, we were literally about to draw up paperwork to sign up what would be limited partners with the LLC of the Den of Nerds, which I'm working on forming. So this guy was going to be a partner of mine, and we had business decisions where we talked about the value of the other team members, okay? This was Quiva. Quiva had some things she really needed to work on. We were like, oh, man, she's good here, but she really needs to work on this. Same thing with Jim. We were like, okay, Jim needs to work on this. He's good podcasting voice, but he really needs to get better at video, be a little bit more engaging. We talked about that stuff. Dion went around to the other members of the team and painted the picture that I had talked a bunch of shit on them. And particularly Quiva was very hurt by this. She was hurt by this. She had said to me afterwards that she sensed that I didn't think she was valuable, and that when Dion told her these things, it proved her point. Or proved her concern, rather. And at that point, I mean, I tried to explain. I was like, look, this is a business conversation, which, by the way, see, there's stuff I can't say. But suffice it to say, I know for damn sure that it was Dion, it was myself, even Dion's wife at one point, and we were all talking about it, and we all were saying pretty much the same things. But it was too late at that point. Like, he had sort of turned her against me. Jim, who I expected to lose because he and Dion were boys, walked away as well. But the real heartbreaker, the real thing that stung was Rob McPhee. And I just want to say here, too, that it's really hard for me not to get on Rob about this, because ultimately it wasn't just that he lied, but that, he was kind of a coward about it as well. When I called him the next day, he dodged me saying that he was having like family troubles, which, he could have been having family troubles. But essentially, when I talked to him the day after that, he basically, the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, so I guess you're going to do it alone now." And I said, "Rob, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean I'm going to do it alone? You and I had this conversation. You had said you're still all in." And he basically just couldn't come out and say it, that he didn't want to be a part of it anymore, and that he was going to go do stuff with Dion. He didn't admit that to me. He kind of lied to me about it and sort of made it seem like he didn't have the time to do the things that he was going to do for the Den of Nerds, where, unless I'm mistaken, now he is doing that for whatever content creation thing that Dion is doing. So like I said, there's other things that go into it, but that is essentially what happened. In my mind, what happened was we tried this thing with the team. We got the contract. We did the thing at Comic-Con. It was a great step. Ultimately, I realized that I could not do business with Dion anymore. And I think what's interesting about that is like his reaction and the way he acted afterwards and all of the things that happened sort of proved me right. This would have been way messier and way worse had I waited and done this into next year after more paperwork had been signed. This could have been very devastating. As it stands, I mean, it made a little bit of waves out there. Some of you saw what happened on the Instagram. I had a handful of people reach out to me. But other than that, not a lot of people know what happened. I decided not even to address it on YouTube. It's not even something I'm going to address. I'm going to sort of quietly recruit new personalities, new faces, introduce them, and focus on doubling down on what I do best, which is make videos and put out content and plan this stuff and build a relationship with the fans. And so I think the thing that sucks about it the most, guys, is that it really felt like a big drain of time and energy. I was getting burnt out towards the end of this thing. I mean, we're talking about doing recording in the city, having multiple meetings a week. I'm writing scripts for people. I'm looking at their videos. I'm giving them advice. I'm trying to keep up the content myself. I'm having business meetings along with the meetings with the team. I'd have business meetings about what we were going to do next and different things like that. And I mean, ultimately, that's the job and the responsibility of a CEO. That's what you do. That's what you're doing when you're building a company. But it was draining to do all of that, considering the conflicts that Dion and I kept having. It was really rough. It took away from other avenues. I wish that I had more time to focus on the Den of Nerds gaming, which Justin is doing an incredible job at. I wish I had had more time to focus on the website, which we are actively building up and is going to be so great so soon. I wish I had more time to do live streams with the fans, to get more people on the Patreon, to push the message of the Den of Nerds, to more definitively refine the message of the Den of Nerds, to be better. And so basically, it just felt like all of this time and energy to build this thing, to cultivate these relationships with these people, to put this out there on social media, and then for it to fail, that is ultimately what sucked the most. And make no mistake about it, it completely sucked. Many of you that follow me on social media, that many of you that realize I was not super active on social media, even videos. I took some breaks from YouTube. I was just knocking out the show, not doing, other bit better videos. And overall, it was a really wacky place to be in. On top of that, I hurt my back in the gym, so I was feeling funky. Then I couldn't work out, which kind of made me feel even more funky. And it was a rough couple of weeks, I'll be honest with you. But I say all of that to get to the point where we are at now, where I am more invigorated than ever to build this brand, to build this company, to recruit properly, to sign better contracts with people when they decide to do videos here, and to learn from all of the mistakes that I made, and to move forward with this brand, company, and channel in the best way possible. And honestly, despite it really sucking, despite it being a pretty bad blow, I feel like I'm going to come out on top. And I feel like moving forward, it is going to be a lesson that I'll keep in my heart. There's an expression from Les Brown, who's a motivational speaker, a guy that I've been listening to for years now. And one of the things he said is, the good times, you put those in your pocket. The bad times, you put in your heart. And that's very true. These types of situations, these types of struggles, can really define us. And when you hold them close in your heart, they can be a light in a dark path. They can be something that gives you fuel, that keeps you aware, keeps you sharp. And that's the way I plan on using this experience. And that's pretty much it, guys. So that is what happened. That is where we are at. Now we're going to do the live stream tomorrow, and we're going to be doing, obviously more and more live streams moving forward. So please, all of your questions, I can probably answer a lot of them. Some I probably can't. But bring any questions that you have about what happened with the crew, what happened with the Star Wars drama, because I didn't even get into that in this video, but we can talk about that. And what we are going to be doing next with this channel and company. I think you guys are going to love it. So a long video. I apologize. Bring your questions tomorrow. Let's get that live stream going on. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all of your awesome support. We're not going anywhere. Den of Nerds is here to stay.